Okay, fine. I will finally tell you the story of how this happened to be, why there are a bunch of clowns forming a line, but most importantly, the secret of the frog mask. Yeah, and I might also talk a little bit about the magic skill, but that might just be a minor footnote to be honest. Of course, I'm kidding, as this is actually a big moment because the magic skill is the last one missing until I have seen everything that free-to-play RuneScape has to offer. Well, in terms of skills, of course, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other stuff that I can still find out, but enough of that. Let's get going. As you know, my spellbook is rather empty right now. Let's change that. And everything, of course, starts in Lumbridge, where everything always starts, really. But if you think just because this is the magic arc now, I won't get myself distracted rather easily, yeah, well, about that. This is me buying a fly fishing rod. This is me then fly fishing. And yeah, I don't know what to say here, really. I couldn't just accept the fact that this didn't work the last time, so I just did it again. Only difference, obviously, I did some fly fishing upgrades to the fish that I will now consume. Will that make a difference at all? Well, let's find out. And after the last 4 fish are consumed, this is what I'm left with. Definitely way more than last time, but I'm almost sure that this won't be funding my upcoming magic experience in any way, really. But I know I'm repeating myself. I still like this plan. I don't know why, but this is definitely one of the best things that I've come up with this far, so I'm still proud of it. But despite all my positive outlook on it, I eventually have to come clear with what reality offers, and yeah, there's, well, only one logical thing to do when we look at this inventory. We replace everything with fish again and try again at the other guys. I mean, of course, not quite sure why, but maybe it's my inability to accept reality. Good thing we're in a video game. But I'd rather not psychoanalyze myself here. That's something I do at 4 AM usually. Way more fun that way. So let's rather focus on my fish to item transition. RuneScape's very own way of alchemy, I like that. And once again, we're trading the whole inventory of the wet friends into this. This really is all I got out of it. And I want to take this moment and change my answer from earlier. This is definitely up to par with my plan so far. And I think I'm finally ready to approach this whole magic thing in, well, the normal way, I guess. Fine. Still surprised my plan didn't work out, but oh well. Or I buy myself better leather armor instead, fill up my inventory once again with the wet friends, and although I wonder why am I so obsessed with this. But well, here we go again, and let's see if there's actually a different outcome this time around. And one more inventory of fish, and it's worse. It's actually worse. I don't know how that even happened, but I somehow managed to only get 2 magic related things out of it, and none of them are actually in any way helpful. But do you think that stops me this time around to try again? Well, actually, yes. This time I, for once, finally gave in. And this sudden and actually very rare moment of clarity finally brings us to the initial starting point of this magical journey. Or maybe this the intended starting point, because we're visiting our old friend Hetty right here, famously known for giving me 100 candies a while back and not allowing me to drink from that cauldron. So let's maybe rectify that, and we start the Witch's Potion quest, so I can become one with my darker side. But most importantly, because the game suggested me to do it, because I'm getting free magic XP early on. And just like that, I found myself in one of the most exciting ways of doing a quest in RuneScape. We are going on yet another shopping run. An onion, well, I know where those are. A rat's tail, a piece of burnt meat, quite a connoisseur at those, and an Eye of Newt, where I should maybe look at a magic shop at a certain port with the good music. Well, okay, fine. But I definitely sense a little bit of a tutorial vibe here, which is definitely not a bad thing, I guess. Okay then. Taking a step outside, I immediately realized that this place is a rat-filled dump. How nice. As we gotta collect rat tails. But even more importantly, actually, and I'm very amazed of myself remembering this, there's this fella Brian over here. And that in combination with this clue scroll might be interesting. Well, then again, talking to the guy only reveals him being quite the businessman and instantly tries to sell me a bunch of archery equipment. To be fair, he can't know that I'm archery master at this point. But however often I restart the conversation or try to use the clue scroll on the guy, or well, really just doubt myself at this point, maybe we are not actually looking for a Brian here. Maybe there still is a hidden message with brains somewhere that the game tries to tell me. But yeah, all in all, we did it once again. State of confusion. And there's only one possible cure here. We murder some rats. As again and again, it proves that violence makes things better. Pretty sure there's another hidden message here in the game. But I digress very slightly. And one swift massacre later, I have myself a rat's tail and an emergency rat's tail. I mean, stranger things have happened. And I leave myself my newfound Brian and the clue scroll behind. Which for once, maybe that's actually for the better, because God knows what crazy wild goose chase I would be after if the clue scroll would have worked out. So for once, I'm actually doing the quest I started out doing. That's almost also very impressive. So next stop, the aforementioned magic shop in the port with the good music. I think you can barely notice my new strategy of avoiding to say names in this game. Working really well, isn't it? Anyways, after talking to the shopkeeper, I slowly but surely realized that this is maybe not the magic shop after all. But you know, while we're here, and given the fact that I recently acquired massive wealth once again, I buy myself the two most expensive pieces. Why did I do that? I wish I could tell you, but mainly I think because I could. Don't really have anything else to say about this, I think. So I guess that's what it feels like being rich in real life. I can only guess. But I can see the appeal of buying things simply for the sake of being able to buy them. So should I ever become a status symbol hungry rich person, this is the moment we blame it on, by the way. But back to less toxic topics, maybe one door over the actual destination of our journey, as this is also the actual magic shop we were looking for earlier. Reading maps is hard. And as the game intended, am I not only learning about being able to buy runes here, I also acquire myself the Eye of Newt, which we need for the quest. A bit further down the road, I borrow myself an onion. I swear I brought it back. Like, you can check at your world. Just go to this place, there will be an onion. I am telling the truth. Anyways, combat, which was a rather short affair given my extensive training sessions that I've been through. Most importantly though, we now have a piece of meat. Like, okay, you know what I mean. I'm of course talking about the one that I now masterfully cook and then masterfully eat when I want to cook it again to burn it. Of course I do. Guess as much as I was taking care of that in the past for this to not happen, it was bound to happen eventually, I think. But one quick steak slaughter with a little bit of precautions this time around, I somehow miraculously managed to pull it off that I actually end up with one burnt steak out of these 4 without eating all of them. Once again, impressive. How do I do it? Well, that's a question I answer in my next book. The Struggles of a Genius Playing Video Games is a working title, as much as the use of a very fluid definition of the word genius. Besides that, I've successfully acquired the items, and after watching Hetty's incredible cooking skills this time around, I'm actually allowed to drink something off the cauldron. And I'm being informed that it tastes horrible, but I feel myself imbued with power. Even the more shocking, the quest actually is already over. It's one of the rare, actually getting to the point type of quests. Most important though, my magic level already massively increasing, not only further proving that maybe I'm a bit more on the right track this time, but now finally bringing us to a point where, well, let's actually start. And you should know by now that when I'm starting something, it's usually absolute nonsense. Something along the lines of listening to 3 minutes of magic lore, just to then beat up exactly the guys this guy just informed me about, because when I passed those earlier, there was a certain suspicion rising within me, and I obviously had to get confirmation. And wouldn't you know, the air wizard is dropping air runes. Isn't that convenient? And due to my lack of sustenance, not merely a minor massacre later, this is the result, which is already way better than my other plans prior, pretty much just further establishing that my plans simply are horrible. But hey, what's new? Well, there is a bunch of new spells in my spellbook now that, despite my incredible idea yet again, I am unable to use because there is certain runes that I simply can't farm around here, given that this is like an element-based system going on here, you know? So pretty much the end of the story is, despite me trying to avoid that for many hours on end really, yeah, well, guess I have to buy runes eventually. But I really tried. God knows why, but I did. Well, or... Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm switching into something a bit more comfortable. Pack my bags with all the just acquired goods and pretty much all the runes I still had lying around from pretty much the very beginning, to once again, in some sort of deja vu, cross a bridge, which should finally start my magical journey. Well, that is if I would know how to actually do that. I mean, I'm now here, I'm on the bridge, there's a bunch of goblins. Oh wait, never mind, those are the goblins. Here's a bunch of runes. And there now is a spell book, which I definitely do remember from the tutorial and from my excessive use of Lumbridge teleports, obviously. But I can theorize all I want, let's just try, I guess. And I do what I was taught in the tutorial. I click the guy in the spellbook, then I click the guy in the world. We shoot a very impressive something. By the way, it's not about size, I was told. I don't know if that's true. And then I start hitting the guy with a stick. Very magically, of course. Besides my magically somewhat primitive approach, it does get the job done. Well, okay. Not what I was expecting, and I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. Well, let's try again. Not only am I throwing that splash of whatever again, which obviously misses, by the way, but I'm also expertly safe spotting, as I now know what that is, which makes this fight really awkward, to be honest, but gives me some room of exploration. All of that resulting in a, well, truly magical kill. The first of many, I'm sure. Then again, at the time I wasn't that sure, because the current playstyle definitely would have netted me a doctor's appointment for carpal tunnel real soon, but I was slightly hinted towards maybe exploring my menu options a little bit. And turns out, once again, if you are actually reading things, they somehow work better. My new brain definitely didn't expect there to be a auto combat option also for spells. Unsure if that was covered in the tutorial or if I've simply forgotten, but for transparency's sake, I'm pretty sure that to this day I would have clicked things in the spellbook and then clicked it on the opponents every single time, which would have made me quit the magic skill very quickly. So this is maybe one of these rare cases where I'm somewhat happy that people try to interfere with my gameplay more and more nowadays. But I can also see how that might have been very entertaining for some others. But if you are part of that group, then don't you worry. Besides maybe understanding very basic game mechanics, there will be some incidents in the near future where somehow no one wanted to help me. But once again, I digress. As back in the here and now, if you do things correctly, this is actually a lot of fun. Not only are the damage numbers way higher, which, well, bigger is better. I think we have established this by now. But more importantly, this time around, the early levels of this skill aren't as awkward as all the other ones usually are, where usually you're not hitting stuff, and if you're hitting stuff, you're hitting it for at max 1, which is already way different here. Truth be told, that might have to do with my somewhat different preparation this time around and me not just blindly stumbling into something, but whatever it may be, and guess we'll never know, it works. Which is pretty much proving once and for all, I simply shouldn't make any plans, given the only constant being me, and failure, I'm not good at math. I don't know what that means. What I do know though is that this has definitely been the most productive start into a new skill yet. And at this point in time, I already feel like taking on bigger challenges right away. So can't wait where my plans are going to lead me this time around. But maybe more important, yeah, this time you don't have to wait over a month for the next episode. Well, maybe.